is a very strong institution, is going to take action and to probably issue guidelines, ensure that journalists in that country actually adhere to the guidelines and also the professional code of conduct.
But what are your thoughts on the reaction? Because one would imagine, now that we talk about it later, one would imagine that the journalists should have even just switched off their cameras and walked away, especially looking at how she even does it. I mean, it's almost extremely demeaning, even if it was not journalists.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It seems that it's a norm in that society that such kind of things happen, and that is why the lady had the confidence of raising her from her seat and start giving out money. So if it's something that doesn't happen in that society, she would have done it, probably asked a lot of questions and also do it in a secretive manner, but the manner in which it was done, it seems that it's something that is acceptable in that society.
Acceptable. Yeah. Okay, Eric, Evans, your thoughts on it?
It's actually unfortunate. I think, as Eric has just said, is that that is demeaning and trying to downgrade the profession. Tanzania, the way I know the media there is that envelope journalism is very common. A lot of journalists actually embedded with politicians and with corporate people, and it's just like something that is very normal to them. So I don't know whether it's self-censorship in terms of taking money. I don't think she was giving that money for publicity's sake, so that she can be given publicity. But I think she also trying to show the gap between probably the profession and what she's in the industry, the levels of industry, because I don't think her intention was to persuade them to do anything that is out of the ordinary, as opposed to reporting what she was actually saying. But there are people who give money specifically for publicity, and they do it in a certain way. But I think she was just doing that. And you see celebrities, mostly these musicians, the way they behave sometimes can really, and even here in Kenya we have seen where musicians want to chop money or give money.
I'm not sure if it's just musicians or it's generally becoming a common practice. Let me hear from Victor, your thoughts on it, and also not just to concentrate purely on Tanzania, because we do know even locally, there are times you'll go for press conferences, and after the press conference, you'll have envelopes distributed, or even, merchandise, which I remember not too long ago, and hopefully we even have that caption where we had a media house or, a broadcasting company tell the journalists to return merchandise that they were given, because they have a policy around this, and we'll look at the policy. Hopefully we can see that as we're talking. But Victor.
Thank you, Mike. That's, while it's the truth, reality that is happening even among our journalists, but it's unacceptable, and the lowest level people can sink to. I mean, even if you thought it was a political rally where politicians throw money like that, that's even humanity or professionally, that's not how you would treat people. I mean, that's unacceptable. But away from that, it's something that is happening that we must deal with. I remember just the other day, a regional coordinator in this country on live TV instructing her secretary to get the journalist's number for M-Pesa so that he sends them money. It was captured on our TV.
Correct.
I mean, it's not a private thing. I remember just recently at one of the hotels, a political party had a press conference, and they had 120 journalists. They distributed money until it ended. They went with the remaining group to the office to look for more money to give them. The other day we just been talking about the sports desks, for example. And at one time, one of the senior officials from FK by then promised to bring an M-Pesa transaction and how he deals with journalists. And the number of calls I received from colleagues asking if their names were in the list. So these are things that we are dealing with.
Did the list finally come? Because I think it was something that was public. You remember,
So these are not things we are creating. So this continuously is putting us in a situation where we must relook and rethink. And while like the Tanzania case, people would justify, because I saw in one of the groups that those were bloggers, they were not journalists, that's not a justification for whatever reason, because one or two media houses have owned up that one of the guys were their staff. So what comes out of there is what matters, that even as we sink to that level, and cheapen the profession and even ourselves as individuals. But what are we doing about it? Because that's now the issue. What are we doing about it? Because I have seen quite a number of press cards where people use press cards to do what? To look for favors from people and to say how he's a journalist. And I mean, so at that level, while it's criminal and professional, and a number of people are, I mean, go to our courts. I mean, the way, I mean, I have a case from Mombasa courts, and how people are, the stories that are covered, it's only particular lawyers and particular cases that are mentioned. And if they tell you what goes, even it's the clients who write the stories, they pay, and
then pay for that.
So it's something that we have brought up. I think 2 weeks ago we had a meeting with the colleagues from the judiciary over the same thing. I mean, go to Parliament, media center. I mean, we reach a stage where, I mean, serious journalists were saying, I mean, talk to Rochelle Nobala, she will tell you what sometimes happens, that even within Parliament, in the media center, how people are treated and how money gets thrown over.
Distributed.
So these are things that we must deal. One, at media level, I mean, at a media house level. What are we doing? Because some of these cases are given to us. I mean,
and maybe just to make it clear, most media houses do have guidelines and policies against receiving gifts, because it's not just money. For instance, if you go for a launch, they normally have a goodie bag that they give out. And I think to many journalists, it's become natural that you just pick it, and it's not supposed to influence, but there are policies that deal with declaring whatever you've been given, whether be it money, be it whatever it is. But let me hear your opening remarks, Lord Janak, on what you think and how you feel in terms of how things are going.
I'll give you a personal opinion in terms of what I believe should be the integrity question. I mean, you see, it is not about what this lady was doing. What was the reaction of the journalists? Why did they abandon their cameras and begin scrambling for money? That is the question we need to ask, because if we are going to talk about integrity of ourselves and what we think ought to happen, if we think other people are cheapening us, then what is our reaction when such a situation comes? That is the debate that we need to have, because sometimes we have had discussions